Well, fabulous, everyone. So, with that, it is my pleasure to welcome you all to our Wednesday night AJ Zoom. If you haven't met me yet, my name is Tennille Murray, and I am now the Political Affairs Director at AJA. It's a pleasure to have so many of you join us tonight for another wonderful Zoom. And tonight we have not one, but two important voices from the organization called Adkan. It's an organization that was founded by former IDF officers and intelligence professionals who saw that there was a growing influence of foreign-funded anti-Israel groups, and they decided, on their own terms, to act. Adkan works to expose, document, and confront organizations that seek to delegitimize Israel, especially those operating under the radar. Their work includes undercover investigations that reveal hidden agendas, foreign funding, and collaboration with hostile actors, and also pursuing legal action and protecting Israeli soldiers, civilians, and the legitimacy of the IDF by exposing fabricated claims or politically motivated lawfare. The message of Adkan is simple. When hostile activism crosses the line into coordinated attacks on Israel's security or legitimacy, Adkan says it stops now. Tonight, we're fortunate to hear from two figures who carry this mission forward. First up, we'll have Manny Firsel, who is the CEO of Adkan. And next up, we're going to be hearing from Ari Hazan, who is Adkan's head of English communications. We also hope, and it's on the radar, that they might be joining us in Australia very soon. So please enjoy tonight. We'll have a Q&A after the presentation, and please join me in welcoming our guests, Manny and Ari. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. So I thought I'd start a little bit by presenting myself, what do I do, what I did in the war, and then we'll start talking a little bit about Atkan. So my name is Manny. I live in a small settlement in the smallest desert in the world, which is the Judean desert, right next to Jerusalem. I'm married. I have 4 kids between the ages of 12 and 4. It's a girl, boy, girl. And until recently, I was like most of the men in Israel during reserve duty. I stopped counting after 400 days since October 7th, so shy more than a year. During that period, I was stationed in the northern part of Israel. I was stationed into a special type of tank. I can get into specifics. And about 2 months ago, because of all the casualties the infantry brigades in Israel suffered, I volunteered to, I demoted myself from a captain to something like a squad leader. And I now am essentially a squad leader in the Jerusalem battalion. And in about a month, we start going to another reserve duty session for another month. So that was a little bit about me. But the war, when it started on October 7th and during the whole period, something changed in me, as I assume it changed for most of Israelis and most of Jews in the world. I think it was John Locke who said, I'm not sure, we're all responsible for all the good we didn't do. And since I think that really resonated in me because I figured I could do much more to safeguard Jewish lives. And we'll get to that a little bit later, but what we do at Atkan, and it's written on my business card, is we hunt anti-Semites. And I mean hunt them. We look for them, we know we stalk them, and we bring them down. I don't mean illegally, we don't shoot them. We simply give them, gather evidence and then give them to the proper authorities so they can prosecute through legal means. Now, it was a little bit about me, but we need to start a little bit to talk first about a little bit, and I mean just a few minutes about anti-Semitism, because it has changed since October 7th, but it mainly stayed the same. So what changed mainly is the amount of anti-Semitism in English-speaking countries, okay? If you go to Russia, Russia has a long history of being an anti-Semitic country. And I don't even mean in the Arab countries, of course. But seeing people in Sydney screaming, gas to the Jews, gas to the Jews, it wasn't heard of until very recently. So what we see is a spike in anti-Semitism. And again, we look for anti-Semitism, both in Israel, but what happened abroad shocked us profoundly at Atkan. And me personally, my family, or at least half of them, live in the United States. Like all of you, I watch the news. I see people screaming things that haven't been heard since Germany 1933. And quite frankly, it is, sends a very cold chill up my spine. So uh, I should say that if you would have gone to a time machine and between the year zero and 2000, or at least 1945, Jew hatred was widespread. It was the norm. People hated Jews everywhere. It changed dramatically after the Second World War, especially in the English-speaking countries. But what we see now is essentially something that has existed for as long as Jews lived in the diaspora. People hated Jews, prosecuted them, murdered them, raped them. It's nothing new. It's new, and in fact, it hasn't happened in 70 years. So what Atkan does is fight anti-Semitism. I mean that profoundly. And I don't mean fight them by posting memes, which is important. I'm not saying it isn't. And I don't mean fight them in legal warfare, which we do. But what we essentially do in Atkan, and this is the start of the Atkan, what Atkan does. Atkan is an organization like you presented in the beginning, which hunts down anti-Semitic organizations which operate in Israel. So the way Atkan is built is it's built essentially like a military intelligence unit. That's how it's built. So in Atkan, we have the people who gather the information. We have the people like Ori who pass it on through social media and the news. We've been on the major news channels many times, showing what we found. But what makes Atkan very, very different is that we use it's called human intelligence. That is, I think the word in English is implement, infiltrate double agents to radical left and Islamic organizations, and that's how we bring them down. So it's essentially aspiring. Okay, only it works for the good guys. Okay, that's what makes Atkan unique. Atkan, the way that it's built is that we see where anti-Semitic agitations occur in Israel. We will essentially put our sights on that target, and then we start gathering information. We do it, and again, I can't get into specifics, but while we don't break the law, not we didn't ever break the law. We do use unconventional methods to get the information we need. So um, Atkan was founded about 14 years ago. We're entering its 15th year. I just started this job about a month ago. Okay, before that, I was the head of a pre-army gap year. It's called the Mechina in Hebrew. And I went to Atkan because, again, I felt like I'm responsible for all the good I didn't do. And I wanted to take the fight not only from the army, but essentially to an arena which is, I think, even more important, or at least as important, and that is public opinion, and people essentially hurt Israel tremendously. Okay, so I thought I'd show you, give you an example. Okay, the way that anti-Semitism works is through lies. If people couldn't lie, anti-Semitism couldn't exist ever anywhere. Okay, so if you look in the history of the Jewish people, you would see that there is a famous blood libel. Okay, blood libel was essentially Jews before Passover kidnap a Gentile kid, drain his blood to make matzah. Okay, you can't make this up. People believe it throughout the Middle Ages until right to the 20th century, and in the Arab world, some of them believe it till today. I've met one personally who thought that. And what essentially is that the main theme is a lie. Okay, and when you believe that lie, it's very easy to believe another lie, like Israel does genocide in Gaza, like Israel is starving Palestinians, contrary to all the evidence showing exactly the opposite. Food is going in 3,000 calories per Palestinian. So essentially, we have to, when we confront anti-Semitism, the main philosophical point is that you confront an ideology that doesn't use reason to analyze reality. They use something else. Okay, because anybody who uses logic to look at reality would see that what Israel does is nothing close to genocide at all. It is the most moral army. I've been part of it in the world. Anything else is just an outrageous lie. Okay, so let's dive into what Atkan does. I'll give you a few examples. I thought I'd show you some of the videos we have made. I thought I'd start with something from the recent time. Okay, I think about a week ago, essentially a Hamas backed, or okay, Mimdani was elected in New York City. Mimdani was backed by an organization called CARE. Okay, at Atkan, we found out that CARE essentially was under an FBI investigation. CARE is Council of American Islamic Relations. It is either the biggest or one of the biggest organizations in the United States, a Muslim organization, and it is, according to the FBI, a front of Hamas. That is the same Hamas which perpetrated October 7th. They're the biggest, at least in terms of money, Mamdani backers. Okay, and if you heard Mamdani, one of the things that which should shock all of us, and at least it shocked me, is that he didn't hide it. He never once he spoke exactly what he thought. It looked and sounded, if it walks like a duck, it talks like a duck, and it looks like a duck, it's a duck. So Mimdani looks like a Hamas supporter simply because he sounds like one, he talks like one, and he acts like one. Okay, Israel is an apartheid state. Okay, he also said, I can remember it also almost verbatim. He said that Israel, whenever a New York police officer boot is standing on somebody's neck, the shoelaces were tied by the IDF soldiers. I don't even know how it makes sense, but that's what he said. True anti-Semitism. What we showed from Atkan is we showed that a Hamas-backed organization, just funded the mayor of New York. Okay, so what is he going to give them? So one of the things we did recently, and again, it's only recently because this situation is very, very terrible, is that we decided that Atkan's mission should extend abroad. Okay, what we're doing right now. We started in the United States, but if you feel the need in Australia, just let me know. Um, what we do is we will provide an intelligence umbrella, protective umbrella for Jewish communities abroad. So essentially, we'll be conducting investigations. I don't mean personally, I mean through open source, through online, about all the organizations and persons of interest threatening Jewish communities. Okay, we started working on it just recently. So essentially, if there's a Jewish community who feels threatened, and that's a long list, they can contact us. We essentially build up an intelligence umbrella. It takes about 2 months. It's a comprehensive study of everything that's happening around that community, radical mosque, radical Islamic organizations. I can just give you an example. Again, also white Nazi, neo-Nazi organizations. So we found out, and we just clicked Boca Raton. Do you know where Boca Raton is? That's in Florida. Okay, big Jewish community. We found out there's a white supremacist organizations called the GDL, the Goyim Defense League, okay, operating there. And just one example, okay? So Atkanis took it upon herself not only to attack threats from Israel who threaten Jews, but also doing that abroad. Now, other than Memdani, one of our biggest focuses was on human rights groups. Now, if you want to set up a group to attack Israel, you can't call it the group to attack the Jews, even though that's exactly what those people do. What they do is they set up a human rights organizations. And again, it's a very red flag. It's like a dog whistle. When I hear human rights organizations, I automatically start being skeptical. Why? Because like we showed at Atkan, and I'll show you a video of that in a second, um, those many of them, not all of them, but many of them, of those organizations essentially use the cover-up of human rights to attack Jews. That's plain and simple, spreading lies. And Atkan has been on the front line fighting them. I want to show you now, God, I hope it works, a video. It's a YouTube video, just one moment. Okay, no, not here. Okay.
Are you sharing your screen, Manny?
There's nothing happening, Manny.
I think he can't hear us because the video is probably playing.
Yeah, wait, I'll go to him. I'll check if everything is going well.
Yeah. If Ari pops up in the background of another screen, it's a magic trick, but they are in the same house right now. Different rooms.
Do you see the video? I forgot to ask.
No,
No,
not at all.
no.
Oh, I've been ready.
You didn't you didn't share the screen.
Oh, you are correct, sir. I am sorry. So for the best 1 minute, you just see me staring at the screen. Just 1 moment. I'm very sorry. Okay, share screen. The entire screen, I think. Advanced. Make sure that the sound is on. It is on. I'm terribly sorry. Okay.
Okay, it
Can you
looks
see
like
the
it's going to
screen
work
now?
now.
One
It's
moment. Yes, there we go.
yes.
Okay.
Ad Khan has been conducting undercover investigations to expose groups posing as human rights organizations. In reality, they are dedicated to sponsoring conflict and delegitimizing Israel, even resorting to criminal activities. Ad Khan has unearthed the following evidence. Could it be that human rights organizations in Israel are operating inhumanely, using terror, intimidation, and murder? Is it true that many of these interconnected organizations have secret, sinister agendas? Ezra Nawi is one of the major activists of the Tayyush organization. Nasser Nawaja works for the B'Tselem organization and Rabbis for Human Rights. Guy Boutbia works for Rabbis for Human Rights, Breaking the Silence, and B'Tselem. Nawi, Nasser, and Guy, all of them activists in so-called human rights organizations, operate systematically together with the counterintelligence services of the Palestinian Authority in order to murder Palestinians who choose to exercise their civil right to sell land to whomever they choose. Ahmad, an Israeli resident of Beersheba, calls Nawi, asking him to broker a deal, the sale of a parcel of land owned by a Palestinian to a Jew. Nawi, with the assistance of Nasser and Guy, hands the documents of the deal over to the Palestinian Counterintelligence Service, this with full knowledge of what will happen to Ahmed. Human rights or inhumane wrongs, these organizations are knowingly causing deaths.
Okay. Can you hear me? See me, right?
Yeah,
Perfect.
all good.
Okay. So I thought I'd elaborate a little bit about what you saw. So essentially what Ezra Nawi, sorry, apologize. This one's, oh, good. Okay. Sorry. So I'll explain a little bit what happened. So Adkan installed an undercover agent, which got very close to Ezra Nawi. Ezra Nawi, by the way, is now dead. Um, Ezra Nawi, again, you saw it. We had hidden cameras. It's all on film. That's how you prove it happened. It's not our word against them. You saw him essentially causing the deaths of Palestinians who wanted to sell land to Jews. Okay, now Ezra Nawi was a major player in the human rights activist movement. He was considered a rising star. He was not some sideliner. He wasn't. And what we showed is, and again, it's all through infiltrating it. That's what we do best. We infiltrated the organization. He caught him on camera doing that, and then you can prosecute him and essentially bring him to justice. He died before that can happen. Now, what we did, it is a show called the Shtula. Essentially, it's there's no when you
They
as
infiltrated.
spies. Yes, an infiltrator. It was on a major TV network in Israel, ערוץ 13 channel, by a famous guy called Tzvi Yechezkeli. He's a very famous Arabic an Islamic expert in Israel. And what we did there is we had an undercover agent. Her fake name is Ruth. She's a Dane. She came to Israel. Again, it's all on the show. You can go on YouTube and watch it. Ori, one of his jobs now is to add English subtitles so you can actually see it because it's only in Hebrew. But what she did was essentially infiltrate Hamas Europe. So there's a branch of Hamas in Europe. They operate all those freedom flotillas who come to Israel, and she proved that essentially all those freedom flotillas are Hamas-backed flotillas. Okay, and I'll show you. If I made fun of Greta. I thought I'd show it to you because we do like to have fun in Atkan. So when you see Greta yelling, keep your eyes on Gaza, okay? So what you actually see is her essentially being a mouthpiece for Hamas. Okay, that's essentially what's happening. And that's another organization which we essentially, we didn't bring it down, but we showed what do they do. And the governments in Europe started paying attention and started cajoling the Hamas activists. So I'll try and share the screen again. God willing, that will work. And I'll show you another very short video, about a minute and a half. Where did I go? Okay. Here we go. Just a second. Why doesn't it work? Sorry. Just one moment. Oh, wait, I know what happened. Okay.
Yeah, we can see it. It's just taking a while to load.
Yeah, I don't know why it worked a second ago when we tested it. I'll give it another 20 seconds and then we'll pass. It won't work. I'll stop sharing and try to open it, and then maybe it will work, and then we'll see.
Many worst case, we can just send it to them on WhatsApp after the meeting.
Yeah, okay, that's what we'll do. Okay, fine. Sorry. I'm gonna look for the Zoom meeting thing. Okay, here we go. Okay, so the flotillas are another example of what we've uncovered. There was a group a few years ago called Anarchists for the Fence or Against the Fence, Anarchistim Neged HaGader. These people would meet every Friday, cause troubles on the border fence of Israel in Judea and Samaria, and essentially we showed that they were breaking the law on many occasions. Again, we showed it because we had people infiltrate that organization and bring them down. Okay, so we essentially, that's what we do. So when I say that Atkan hunts anti-Semite, I mean it. Even now, we have another two. I'm not sure you say tahkirim, like research, two big researchers. Anyway, two big investigations coming up to the media sometime, one in another week or two, one in another 2 months. We essentially go after everybody who wants to hurt and harm Jews, and in Israel, and like I said, we also now after Mimdani and all the anti-Semitism which spiked after October 7th, we started to pay attention about what's happening abroad. So what we're doing now is we're essentially internationalizing Adkan to help protect Jews essentially everywhere. So if you know anybody in the community who could benefit from an Israeli best intelligence organization, you can give them my email and they can contact me and we'll do whatever we can to help. Okay. Essentially, I think that's it. Those were my 30 minutes. I'll be here for the Q&A part after Maurice has his 10 minutes. Maurice, so you're up.
Yeah, so it's me now. Okay, so I'm Ori. Okay, I'm from the AdCan organization. I just joined. So I work in the digital advocacy. So what I do is what the work we do here, and we publish it in Israel. So I publish it as much as I can to the world. Um, I met with many organizations in Australia, especially in Australia, whether it's with you guys or there is Never Again is Now also with Mark Leach. And yeah, so that's my job to publish our work we're doing here um to the world. But the thing I want to recently I found out, and I'm not speaking here as a Jew or as an Israeli, or as a Zionist here. We're facing. Well, I'm speaking now as a pro democratic person. What we're facing here is not just um, a problem between Israel and Palestine. Okay, this is like much bigger. Sorry, 1 second. There's a glitch. Can you guys see me? Okay.
Yes, very well.
Yes, can you hear me? Because my
Yeah.
screen is glitching.
Ah, no,
Yes,
we
sorry.
see you and hear you very well.
So I can't see. Sorry, I can't see myself now.
It's okay. We
No.
promise you're looking fine. All good.
Mhm. All right. Okay. So as I said, this. Okay, now it's good. Okay, so this, as I said, this problem is not just between Israel and Palestine. It's a global Western civilization problem because, well, it feels like our countries, with every country that abandoned Israel, especially during the war, especially all, Britain, France, even Australia and New Zealand, all countries that abandoned us during the war, abandoned you guys as well, because they did not just abandon an Israeli one state that it's facing a problem with another, um, like another group of people, like Palestinians. Okay, they are when they abandoned Israel, they abandoned the democracy, they abandoned the truth, they abandoned the future of the Western world, and this is what we're facing. Um, and somehow people who openly support Hamas, the terrorist organization, are the treated if they are part of our, like as Manny said, like they are part in our communication. They are becoming our mayors, they're becoming our presidents of human rights organizations, of in the European Union. Okay, it's affecting us all. So this is what we're facing. Okay, so I said in a way that when Adkan is exposing the truth about the anti-Semites on Israel, so it's exposing the truth also about what is aiming, what is threatening the all Western civilization. Um, we're fighting a lot more than anti-Semites. Because we're fighting, especially me, because as I said, I'm in charge of the publishing on the social media. I'm sure you guys are aware of it as well. Um, we fight in the social media as well, especially me, because like the social media doesn't like politics, especially when it comes to Israel. So let's say that now you reveal something, we have to fight much harder to expose the truth in terms of rather than Palestinians, because a Palestinian person can just shout Israel just killed 5,000 babies, and it will spread out like this. They have the BBC, they have the CNN, sometimes Sky News. Okay, many global communication channels, and they have the BDS as well. But when we shout it out loud, we have to come with facts. We have to film everything. We have to actually be there and show the people, look, this is what they did. And even when we show them, no, it didn't happen. So this is what I'm fighting. Basically, it's not just exposing the truth. It's also exposing the truth and trying to make people see that this is the truth as well. And this is a bigger problem. As I said, it's not just about Israel. It's about you people. It's about Britain. It's about America as well. And it's sad. It's sad because like I have no idea how we got to this far. I mean, I have no idea how we got to this place. where we have to fight, especially like Jews and Christians over the world. We have to fight them as well because they are literally like, there's in America, Jews are shouting, there is genocide, there is genocide, there's a genocide. They don't even look for the facts. So, and it's um, this is what we are dealing with. Yeah, I was sorry, just a blackout. um, Basically, that's it. Sorry, yeah, I had a lot of mine just flipped out. So if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Manny and Ori, for your insights. We will go to our Q&A now. I can see we've got a few hands up. We'll start with maybe in our Q&A section, if you or both. Sorry, Terry, are you able to? Yeah, there we go.
Thanks for the presentation. One of the things that Ori just touched on, which particularly concerns me, and I know concerned a lot of my colleagues in AJA, is the element of anti-Semitism that's actually coming from parts of the Jewish communities across the world. And I wonder whether those particular organizations in various countries are also being given some priority in terms of exposing who backs them and the out-and-out lies which I hear coming from some of these organisations. We have them here in Australia. I could name some, but I won't now.
I didn't really understand the question. You talked about Jewish
Yeah,
essentially
we,
Jew-hating
we,
Jews.
we have a lot of organisations that are Jewish that are basically peddling the same anti-Semitism as Muslims and far left and also far right organisations. And I don't know. My view is that they're probably more dangerous to the Jewish community than some of our enemies.
So
It's not. Oh, yeah, man, answer.
So I just want to say that the story of Jews harming the Jewish people is probably as old as the Bible.
Yeah.
So if you remember the story about Moses, he first killed an Egyptian, and then another night, a few days later, he talks to a Jew who said, "I'm going to rat you out," and then Moses has to flee to Midian. So, and this guy was a Jew, okay, writing out Moses. If you know anything about the Spanish Inquisition, I'm talking about 1492. So in 1492, the head of the Inquisition was named Thomas de Tergoande. Now, the guy was a son of a converted Jew because so people know about the Spanish Inquisition. It wasn't against Jews. There were no Jews officially left there. It was against Jews who converted to Christianity but really stayed Jewish in hiding. Okay, so you need a Jew to find out who these people are, and only a converted Jew could do that. So the story about Jews harming Jews is as old and as sad as it is old. Even now in Israel, many of the organizations like B'Tselem, which I showed you earlier, in my opinion, harm the Jews immensely. Okay, immensely, because by the way, I see this as no problem simply because Judaism, unlike Christianity and Islam, is also a nationality. I can prove it very simply because I can just walk up to a Jew and say, "Listen, are you an atheist?" And there's a good chance to say yes. So if you're an atheist and a Jew, Judaism is not only a religion. Okay, Joseph Stalin went to seminar before he became a revolutionary. Nobody accuses him of being a Christian because a Christian is only a religion. But we're stuck with George Soros. Okay, we're stuck with people who were born Jewish. So that's the only reason why people have sort of a cognitive dissonance. But how can Jews do that to Jews? Because some Jews are only born Jews and they don't like Jews, just like some Gentiles don't like Jews. Okay, what do we do about it? Many of the organizations we infiltrated have Jews in them. Okay, they still harm the Jews. I don't target Jews or Muslims. I see which organizations do the most harm in Israel to the Jews, and I try to infiltrate them and bring them down. That is, bring them to justice. Okay, I gather evidence, I give them to the courts, and they do their jobs. I hope that answered the question.
Thank you, Manny.
Yeah, all right.
Oh, did you want to continue on the question?
No, just you go ahead.
Okay, we'll go to our next question, which is from An. Please unmute.
Hi, Danny. So my question is, how do we confront the anti-Israel bias in the media, like from the BBC, which I have already linked into Robert's Gregory's chat here? So Telegram highlighted that the BBC platform Hamas, we have our own bias, ABC. Uh, Canada's got their own institutions. So these left-wing outlets have their own bias when it comes to Israel, which is influencing the population at the moment. So how do we confront that when the media is pushing Hamas propaganda?
Do you want to start or should I
Well,
start?
yeah, I'll go this one. I will actually, before I joined Adcan, I joined the small organizations, and I found out, not recently, since the war, that BBC, CNN are the same thing. I used to call them Hamas supporters because whenever this is how they brainwash people's mind. Whenever like there is a fact, something shout out from Gaza. Okay, as I said, Israel kills 50,000 children. They just state it as a fact. They don't even look for the information. They don't even look for anything. They just said Israel just killed 50,000 babies. But whenever there is a fact from Israel, like whenever Israel, investigate the situation, and then it shows that it didn't. So, like, let's say our IDF spokesperson, okay, of the investigation, then publish it to the world. They don't just say it is not true. So what they do is they say IDF spokesperson, dot dot, said it is not true, something like that. And this is how they brainwash people, because they see a fact, and then when it comes to Israel, they see, oh, well, but it said it's not true. They didn't say it's not true, so that's what I'm saying. No, I did try to see how we can fight the BBC and all the global communications, and I had an idea like a long time ago. It's kind of slipped away to open one for us as well. Just like and Al Jazeera just pro. I used to call it pro-Israeli, but I don't want to call it pro-Israeli. I want to call it pro-truth, pro-Western democracy, that it really exposes the truth. But in this, we need to have like a proper channel that when you go to home and you open the TV, and then you put like the number of the channel. But it has to. But in order for this, we know all it's years of work, and I'm afraid we're too late for it. The only way we can expose the BBC is, by when Adkan is doing is to expose that whoever is in charge of the BBC, just like whoever is in charge of the human rights, is heads of Hamas, pro-Hamas narratives. And this is what we are for, because I believe that most of the people, even the quiet people, the ones who are not pro-Israeli, not pro-Hamas, and not pro-Palestine, but they see what is going on. They see the streets. They see that Western civilization is decreasing, and they see that the Palestinians are taking over the world, taking over the West civilization, just like the UK, just like France, Belgium, Netherlands. So we need to bring them for us, and we need to show people that we are the most percentages of the world, and we need to fight them not just on social media, because we need to, whether it's protesting, whether it's becoming high position jobs that actually affect the media and affects the laws that and forgot the word, Manny, איך אומרים שהם עושים עלינו חרם? Forgot.
Sorry. Boycotts.
Well, how is it called? Boycott. Yeah. So we need to be in high positions and to affect that when other countries boycott Israel, and when other countries and when mayors becoming and when Muslims becoming mayors, and when Muslims becoming in global rights organization, because we are the most people. We are more than them. Okay, Western civilization, pro-democratic people are more than the radical lefties and the Islam who lives right now in the Western. So that is how we need to fight them. We just need to be in a position where we can say no, and we can make our own decision that affect global global rules.
So if I can add to your question, Han, it's a good question. I know it's good because I don't have a good answer. Okay, that's the fact is that we are constantly in an inherent disadvantage. I don't know how to say it in English. In Hebrew, it's said that a lie will circle the road twice before the truth will step out of the door. And it's true. It's a lot easier to lie. And people who gang up together to lie. And by the way, the BBC, all the channels you mentioned before, are we know bias against Israel, don't show the truth. It's all true. I don't have a good question about how to fight them other than everybody you know to stop watching those channels. If you do have a media outlet, let's say Israel has sort of a channel 14, there's a lot of independent podcasts. It's not like the olden days when you only like had 2 3 news sources. That's how we fight them. One thing which is take it as a tip, sort of a good advice. Showing their hypocrisy is always a good idea. Okay, people don't like hypocrites. So when you show them Israel is doing genocide, but a Hamas person who either raped or murdered or baked a kid, God Almighty, baked a kid in an oven on October 7th, that's a freedom fighter. That's hypocrisy. Okay, so again, and I don't have a good answer. I wish I did. If you can find out, let me know about how we can fight them. But we still have to fight. I mean, we don't have the privilege of being despondent, sort of giving up. We don't have that prerogative. We have to fight on anyway. I hope that helps.
Thank you. We'll go to, sorry, it just says iPad as the name. If you'd like to unmute, please.
Is that me?
Yes.
Thanks. Do you have any connection with Mossad?
No.
Okay. So, well, that answered my question.
Even if I did, I would have answered no.
Oh, I understand now. Okay.
But no, we don't have a connection to Mossad at all.
Okay. Can I ask you another question? Just a quickie. My experience at the universities in Australia has been horrific. I don't have any colleagues left who will speak to me. I asked questions about what was going on with all the riots, and I got doxxed as soon as I did that. Are you investigating universities? Because that seems to be the wellspring of today's anti-Semite.
First of all, okay, thank you for your question. First of all, you are right. What we see in the universities, that so-called ivory tower of wisdom, they're supposed to be constantly honoring the truth. You know, it's on the when you go to Yale, it says Urim and Tumim. The way I mean, I think it's Harvard. God, I knew it in Latin once. Domino Illuminati Omea. I think that's what it says. God enlighten my way. It was supposed to be an organization who seek the truth. How did they fall so far? And they have fallen greatly. I can only offer my personal opinion. In Hebrew, you say, Reshit Chochmah Riyat Hashem. There is no wisdom without fear of God. And I think the most secular organization, and I'm not talking secular people, the most secular organization on earth is the Western University. Okay, and that's why I think you can honestly see how they have drifted apart amazingly from the truth, and now are essentially what looks like a hotbed for extremism. It can be radical Islam, could be radical leftism, and it doesn't leave any place, not for Jews, but for anybody who speaks the truth. Essentially, the university, I don't want my kids to go to university at all. I tell them that. I don't see why they should. I think they overpay. I mean, that's the truth of it. So one reason we don't investigate the university is because I don't think I'll find anything which you would find and say, huh, I didn't know that. Okay? So it's essentially out there. You wouldn't be surprised about anything we'd find in the universities. Unfortunately, I wish it wasn't like, I wish the situation was different.
Thank you, Manny. And that is right. Even you stole my joke from me about Mossad. I was going to say no matter what, the answer would be no. We'll go to Jeff. Please unmute.
Shalom. I often wonder about the mega billionaires who feel neurotic about their mega billions that they've won, especially the Soros father and son who achieved their billionaire status through betting against the Bank of England. So if they feel so neurotic about having won their fortune, why don't they donate it to you and make them? Why don't you take it off them somehow and make them feel less guilty for being billionaires? Tongue in cheek, of course, but the real question is, how on earth do they justify being so evil, self-hating Jews? What makes them tick? Can you get into that for me?
Unfortunately, I can't because I'm not George Soros, but I can offer a piece of insight from meeting many people. And I'm sure, by the way, you know it too, and everybody who's listening, you know it. Every single person, with no exception, except maybe people who are absolute lunatics, what most people, including I think the names you mentioned, are absolutely sure 100% that what they're doing makes the world a better place. I have no doubt about it. When if you ask people who do incredible harm, they would say, "What are you talking about? You're doing incredible harm. I'm the good guy." Okay, so I can't say for sure, but I'm willing to make a bet that if I would have met George Soros and asked, "Listen, why do you give money to BLM? Why do you give all these organizations so much money?" People who I think do a lot of harm to not just Jews, people who just want to live normal lives in a civil society. And he would say, "What are you talking about? That's what you're doing. I'm the good guy." I almost sure he would say that. So that's the only insight I can give.
Thank you, Manny. We've got a question in the chat here. It's from Nick, and it's talking about, I'll just sort of give you the brief of it. Basically, we had neo-Nazi protests in front of our parliament in New South Wales, and the New South Wales government, that's our local state government here, started to review the anti-hate laws. The question is about why these laws weren't looked at or implemented over the past 2 years when we've been experiencing anti-Semitism, violence from the pro-Palestinians, but yet I wouldn't call it minor, but there is one neo-Nazi rally in front of Parliament. Suddenly, all these hate laws and things are being talked about when we've suffered already 2 years from the left.
I don't understand the question.
The question is, so I guess it's around why when anti-Semitism comes from neo-Nazi or from the what we call the far right, it looks like politicians and governments take much more action rather than the ongoing and continuous years of anti-Semitism from the far left that's been going on.
Okay, it's my personal insight. The fact is that being bad is considered right. It's a right thing to be. Okay, so the more you go right, the more evil you are. Now that's what I think the leftist story is. So Nazis, even though Nazi is the amalgamation of National Socialists, okay, socialism is not a right theme; it never was. So the Nazis were at least an amalgamation of right and left, but Nazis are considered right, not right in their opinion, right as in a movement, and therefore you can attack them. So when neo-Nazis do something, that's you can take action, but when the religion of peace does something, or when a student organization does something in the name of equality, whatever, all those dog whistles, which I see as a form of anti-Western attack. So the government don't do anything. It's the same thing here in Israel, exactly the same. Okay, it's the same in the United States. I assume it's the same in Australia. I think it's the same in all Western English-speaking countries. Why is it? Because essentially being left is a good thing. Okay, you can never be too. That's what the left is saying. You can never be too far left. Okay, there's no left-wing extremist, only right-wing extremists. Okay, that's again my opinion. That's what I think.
Thank you, Manny.
Can I just add something to it?
Yeah.
So what we see, like especially over the social media, what we see is radical extremist leftists, okay, just radical leftists and Islamists. We see them combined together against what we call the Western way of life, and we think of a future. We want to build homes, to build families, send our kids to a proper school that they don't want, that not making us forced to not forcing us to to pray for Islam and to teach us how to be gays and to teach us how to become trans. This is not what we want. We want to think of a future, to live a proper life, just like God gave us, just like Jesus gave us. And this is what we're fighting, because we see many lefties. I'm not even sure if the lefties. I just think they brainwash people. They are converting to Islam. They're taking them to mosques when they in third grade, second grade. They're taking them to mosque and they're making them pray to Allah, and then they're converting them. And we see it now all over. Like, this is like the new thing. Like, when you become like, well, becoming now Islam is like the new the new thing in the world. So we also, because we're talking about university, so I think it starts at education, because at university, when you go to education, like schools and stuff, this is where it starts, because they teach you how to hate Jews. They're erasing Israel from the map, and I'm not talking about Islam. It's not Palestinians that in Texas or in the UK. They're just radical leftists. They're taking Israel off the map and they call it Palestine. And this is now how they teach. So who are the Israelis? They should not exist. They shouldn't be there. They should go back to Europe or go back. And when you ask them where would go back, I don't know, just leave the place from the river to the sea. They don't even care. And it's all starts there. When you're the second and third grade right now, they're making you believe that Islam is the right religion, Islam is the correct religion, and Jews should not exist. So the universities are a really like effective spot in the global anti-Semitism trend in this world right now.
Thank
If
you,
that
Ari.
helps. Yeah, sure.
This question is for both of you. Looking into the future, do you think that the biggest threat to Israel is now coming from the diaspora, from outside of Israel, or from internally within Israel?
Internally. That's
From
what I
Israel.
think.
From Israel.
In what
This is the big.
specific?
So, I'll start. You'll finish. I live in Israel. I have been for all of my life. It's not that I'm not worried about jihadis attacking us, because they always will. I mean, this war will never stop. I should say it's an Islamic imperative that because Israel was once ruled by Islam, it must always be Islamic. Okay, it's from the Quran. It's part of what they believe in. So there's no peace agreement which can change that. If Israel was the side of a postage stamp on the beach in Tel Aviv, it won't have any right to exist. Now, what I see in Israel, and I taught Jewish history for many years. Whenever Jews failed, when the first temple fell, the second temple fell, it's not because they were attacked by outside forces, because that has happened a lot in Jewish history, and we didn't always fail. It happened because Jews fought amongst themselves, or just decided to bow down to radical. Then it was radical ideologies, like being a Greek, okay, to be Hellenified, okay, and people don't. That's what I think. So if I had to pick now. So we would lose all 7 fronts of the war, but it would be a lot stronger inside. It would still pick that, and not vice versa. Okay, so I honestly believe that the almost 8 million of us Jews in Israel. Okay, I think it's the most Jews have ever lived here ever in history. Okay, and from what I see, and again, that's what our organization does. We are constantly being undermined by people who either don't like Jews in Israel, hate themselves, call it what you want, who essentially fight the Jewish people. And again, it's not a new story in Judaism. Since there was Judaism, there were Jews who were fighting Jews. Okay, non-Jewish Jews. I forget the name of the sociologist who coined the term.
Thank you, Manny. We'll go to our final question from Dina, please.
You. Following on with that point, have you identified any sources of finance that are stirring up trouble within Israel itself? not talking about George Soros, but from outside of Israel?
And that's a big yes. I can't get into specifics, but yes.
Okay, thank you.
That is one
Sure.
thing with Adcan. It's because a lot of the operations you do are quite secretive and, must be kept very confidential. I think it must be difficult for the organization to publicize and promote itself when you can't really
You're right.
provide these juicy details to everything that you're doing.
You're right. One of our biggest concerns, mine is at least, is that when I go to raise money from abroad, I can't promise them certain projects because people lives. I can't say, listen, we have an agent in this organization. I need more. I can't do that. So if any of you are in fundraising and can give me advice about how can you do that without explaining to the T, what do you do? I'd appreciate the advice, but you're right. It is hard.
Well,
But
speaking of support, we'd like to ask you if people would like to support Adcan, if they'd like to know more, if they'd like to keep across all your operations, what are the best ways to keep in contact, donate, etc.?
so you just go to AdCan in on Google, okay? Or he will send the URL
The link.
for the site. It's in English. You just click a button. The site will be in English, and you can donate through there. And again, if you want to ask me questions, anything, or he will send my email. My email address. You can mail me. It may take me a few days to answer, but I usually do answer all the mails.
And social media or other ways, newsletters to keep in
Yes,
touch?
yes. So we
Yes.
have Facebook, Yeah, you take that. That's your domain.
Yeah, we have Facebook. I will send you all the links to our platform. We have Facebook, we have Instagram, YouTube. We even have our own website in English. I will just send the links, and you can see our work there. You can see our history. You can see how to support. You can even become like a support member. I will just send you the links, and then you can see what we do.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And for everyone who is listening in or doesn't get those links, their website is www.adcan, that is adkan.org.il. So you can go there, donate, sign up, follow everything. Eugene asked in the chat, yep, Adcan. And I believe that means means until, and Khan
The
is like
best
end.
translation, yes,
Until
the best
now,
translation of Atkan is no further.
No
no
further.
further.
There we go. Adcan until the end. So
Until here, but it essentially means no further.
Yeah.
so please do support what they are doing. It is incredible work that you are doing, and it's so incredible to see Israelis, ex-IDF soldiers, so passionate about supporting Israel, defending the Jewish people. We cannot thank you enough for the hard work that you are doing. So thank you very much for joining us this evening. I'll remind
Thank you for
everybody
hosting us.
that our AJA Charity Day is coming up. It is November 30th. This is the one time of the year that we are asking for your support. It is so vital for us and, all these organizations, we all know it, that donations and funds are really what keep us alive, what keep us fighting anti-Semitism. Our charity campaign is our AJ Sadaka campaign, and that is to fight anti-Semitism in Australia. It is not going away. It is not getting better, and we need your support to continue to do what we do and to continue this fight. So please go to ourcharity.com/AJAT. Donations are open now, and that is until our charity day, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Sunday, the 30th of November. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us again. We will see you all next week. I'll remind you that this was recorded. The YouTube will be available tomorrow. It'll also be on J Air Radio, and please give it a listen, share, and with all your friends, and we'll see you next week. Thank you and good evening.